Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is this guest house here. Thank you for stopping right here on my space. So I'll be quickly going about the detailed drafting of this blouse you see at the left side of your screen. This blouse you see right here is an asymmetric neckline blouse which also has a collar. So on the base, on the hem area, it has a stylish curve and also a slit. It has this beautiful design print on the hem of this blouse, and trust me, you don't really want to miss out on all the 100% beginners friendly tutorial that is uploaded here on the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please kindly click on that subscribe button. Trust me, it's never going to be a thing of regret. To all my subscribers, I love you all a whole lot. To my new subscribers, you're welcome to this family. Thank you so much, and without much ado, let's get started with today's tutorial. Pattern paper is your number one compulsory material that is needed for this particular blouse, and it is going to be for our drafting. So behind the camera, I already drafted out a basic bodice, which is the foundation for any type of dress you intend making before you can continue or go ahead with your alteration. So the first line I have at the top of my paper is my shoulder line. The second line I have is my chest line. The third line I have, which is my bust point 10 inches, my under bust 13 inches, my waistline of 16 inches, then the full length of this paper as my blouse length. I also have all these lines to be duplicated at the other side of this my pattern paper, because of course I have this my pattern paper folded into two. So on my chest line, I also have the quarter of my bust circumference, which I use in creating my armhole. My neck is 3 inches wide and 3 inches deep. So the next, I went ahead to mark my nipple to nipple point of 7 inches divided into 2. That's 3.5 inches. I marked it now on all of these lines using my stretch ruler. That other smaller part is usually referred to as the center front, and this other bigger side is the side front. So I labeled them CF and SF respectively. So I'll come to my under bust line. That's the line labeled UB, and towards my center front, I marked half of an inch away from my dart on the under bust line and also at the hem of this my pattern paper. So I'll come to the side label SF, which is the side front. On my under bust, I went out by 1 inch from my that line and also did the same thing on the hem of this my blouse or my paper. So from the bust point line, I'm coming down by half of an inch and I'm connecting it this way into my under bust line, and I'll repeat the same thing for this other side. So I believe that most of us right here on this channel are familiar with what I'm doing right here. Okay, so I'm going to come to my armhole now. On that half of my armhole, I'm going to go up and below by half of an inch. So this is me trying to create a process that will stay right here. And again, from my bust point line, I'll go up by half of an inch. So from that middle line, that's the half of my armhole, I'm going to connect this way using the side of my cover into that half of an inch I came up by from my bust point. So I'm also going to make the other half of an inch lines at the top and below to join or meet each other at that point. As you can see, I've done right here. So basically this is it, and I'll go ahead and extend this by 1 inch on the armhole on that last line, that third line. Okay, then I'll reconnect my armhole to this initial bust circumference I have, as you can see right here. So that's basically it, and I'm just going to start inputting my body measurement. So my waist circumference divided by 4, I'll mark it on the line labeled WL, which is my waistline. Then on the hem or base of my paper, I divided my hip circumference by 4 and I marked what I have right there. Now I'm connecting all of these points together, as you can see right here. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to come to my bust point line and I'm going to mark 2 inches below and now connect it into my dart line this way. So this is called a side dart or a classic dart. And all these lines now, all these parts, I'm shading, are the parts that I'm going to be cutting out later on. So you already know that we've taken 2 inches as our side dart and it has to be replaced. So the length of my pattern paper is not going to be up to that, so I have to add extra to the base, and I use my sellotape to tape them together. So when I now do this, I'll extend all of these lines I have to this other piece of paper that I just joined here, and I'm just going to mark extra 2 inches from the base of this my pattern paper so that I can replace this dart that I marked at the side of this our pattern paper. You know that any dart you take is usually replaced, right? So you can see what I've done here so far. Please go ahead and also do the same thing. Okay, so actually on the hip line I was supposed to add extra 1 inch, which is going to be for my ease around the hip area. I totally forgot that, but at this point I had to now mark that 1 inch, as you can see right here. So I'm going to reconnect this now all the way from my waistline into this 1 inch I just marked right now, and that is it. So my paper is not enough at the side for replacing my dart and also adding my stitching allowance, so I'll do that when I'm cutting out on my fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to cut open the side that I have right now so that I can close it back. So you see that I slashed it from below and I'm trying to now close it using my sellotape right here. So from the base you're going to close it upward this way. Okay, so this will enable your dress to be fully cupped, like it will give it more enhancement. Okay, so I also repeat the same thing for this other side, which I also drafted. So the next thing I'll do is to start working on the hem or the base of this gown to achieve our curve. Now I'm going to come to my darts now from the side front. Hope you can remember I marked 2 inches away from my dart, then I went up by 2 inches as well. So all I'm going to do is to get my curve row, and I'm going to make a connection, a curvy one, from the waistline into these 2 inches I marked away from my dart line and also from the base of my pattern paper. So if you are good at using your free hand to get this curve, feel free to use your free hand, but you can also use your curve rule on the curve part to achieve this as well. So I tried as much as possible to also use my curve rule and also using my free hand at the same time. Whichever one that works perfectly for you is okay. So this is just how we get this other curve, because we know that this other side is shorter, so it's all dependent on you, on the part you want to achieve your curve. Okay, so now from the length, from the actual length of this my blouse, I marked 5.5 inches downward this way. So we know that this gown is longer at one part and also shorter at the other side. So that is what I'm trying to achieve right now. Okay, so now I've extended this line. Now that is going to be the actual length of my blouse at this point. Okay, so I'm going to cut out the base and also cut out the sides. I also cut out the armhole. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out the dart open. So you can see what I did right here, right? I've cut out my dart, and the next thing is my neckline, the shoulder, and also the armhole respectively. So this is my center front. You can see what it looks like. I'll keep that aside because I'm yet to cut out for this other side front. Okay, so when we are now done doing all of this, you just get this other side and now cut out that curved part. So that is the part that needs to be cut out. The other side has no business with being cut out the same way this curve is for this other side front. Okay, hope you understand what I mean. So remember, I'm going to replace my dart when I'm cutting on my fabric. So my dart is 1.5 inches, so I wrote it down here, add that 1.5 inches so that it doesn't escape my mind. Okay, so that I can do that while I'm cutting on my fabric. I'll also show you all right here. We'll do it together. So I'm just going to get my center front back, and I'm going to get this other side of my side front that is normal, that doesn't have any alterations on it. So I'm going to try to close them together on these parts here using my sellotape. Then after that, I'm just going to get my curve from this other pointy end. Okay, from that part where I extended this my blouse length, I'm going to create a curve from that point into the side of this my paper. So I'm just trying to bring this together to arrange them very well, so you can see this is what it's going to look like when we are done drafting and sewing on our fabric. Okay, so I'm going to come to this other longer piece or side from this base here, and I'm going to create this curve into the sides. So the side is going to stop is on the actual blouse length of 24 inches. Okay, so that's where it's going to stop so that it can align with the other sides when I'm joining them. Okay, So that's just basically it for the base. And I'll also go ahead to still separate these two pieces because they're not meant to be together. I only brought them together because of this effect I was trying to achieve. Okay, so that's basically it for the base. We'll move over to the neckline area so that we can create our asymmetric neckline. So now I've flipped this to the front part, and you can decide on the part where you want to achieve your neckline, your asymmetric neckline. Whichever part you want to do this is totally fine. So mine is actually on the right side, and I brought the side front, that's the part that has the curve, and my center front together, and I make sure that the chest line aligns with the both, they match, and I use my sellotape to tape them down. Now from my neck width, I will move away by 2 inches on my shoulder. Then I made the point right there. Then for my shoulder line, I marked 5.5 inches below. Now I'm going to connect this from my armhole into that point all the way to these 2 inches I marked away from my neckline on my shoulder. So you can see the connection I did right here. So at least from your armhole, you should have at least 3 inches inward. Okay, just as I measure right here is totally fine. Then on this other side of my shoulder, I'm going to move away by 3/4 of an inch from my neck width, and now from that point I'll create a curve into that 5.5 inches I have at this other side of my neckline. So I'll cancel out this middle part to show you all that I'm going to cut it out entirely, and it's not going to be of any use again. So I will now go ahead to also cut out all of the other parts that will be needed and will not be needed as well. So just watch properly and pay attention to see what I've done right here so far. So I've also cut out that shoulder together with that other side of the armhole, and you can see I have it right now as one piece. Then I'll now cut out this neckline area all the way to my shoulder. So these parts now that I just removed are not going to be used for anything. I'll still go ahead and separate these two pieces I have because they're not meant to be together for any reason. Okay, so when I now separate this is what I have, and this is what it's looking like. And in total now, the front part of this our blouse is 4 pieces in total, including the shoulder part that was cut out. Okay, so I also write down add that at the side so that it doesn't skip my memory with my same allowance. So I'm just going to place all of these now aside to cut out for the back part of our blouse. So you also need to have your pattern paper folded into 2, and you need to have this nice duplicated as well at the other side of your pattern paper. So I already have my basic lines, 3 inches neck depth and 2 inches neck width. I have my nipple to nipple points and all those necessary lines. So I went ahead now to label all of these lines in case you might be slightly confused. Then on my dart line, on my dart leg at both sides, I marked half of an inch away from there, and I'm going to connect this all the way to the under bust. Then I'll create my dart as well. So the type of dart we are creating here is not really for the bustier effect, it's just for us to have our darts. Okay, so I connected back again like this from my armhole into my bust point, and I'll also come down by just half of an inch. I will connect it into this first curve I have. Okay, so I extended this other side by 1 inch and reconnected it this way. So that is how simple the back part is. So the next I'll input is my body measurements and also my hip, and also add extra 1 inch for ease. So that is basically it for the back, for the drafting of the back. So I'm going to open this up now so that we can start with the alteration, because we know that our zipper is not fixed at the center, it was actually fixed to the sides. So I'm trying to like duplicate all of these lines. I'm like duplicating all these lines at this other part, okay, so that I can start with the alteration. So do bear in mind that whichever part you have your asymmetric line or neckline facing for the front, that is the same part your asymmetric neckline for the back needs to face as well. Okay, so I'm just creating my dart here, and this particular dart for this other side, at the end of the day I did not really make use of it, but I just had to do all of this, okay, for clarity's sake. So now I'm done with drafting out all of these lines. I'm just going to get the front part of my paper so that I can place them right size on top of this back piece I have, so that I don't make mistakes. So you see, let's assume we are joining this right sides facing each other. This is how it's going to be. This other part where I have 2 inches cut out from my shoulder, you can see, so meaning that I'm going to have this my symmetric neckline towards the, when I was drafting this, it was at my left side for the back. Okay, so I'm going to have my asymmetric neckline on this other part. So this 1/2 of an inch, I subtracted it from this other side, and this other part from my shoulder I minused 2 inches as well, and I also came down by 5.5 inches, and I'm just recreating what I did for the front part. So on this shoulder, I will still connect this with my free hand into this 5.5 inches. I hope you're not confused at all. Okay, so at this point now, you can actually connect your zipper into your dart and now cut it open from there, or you can decide to mark your zipper straight down to the ends of your pattern paper. So it's all about preference, but at the end of the day, I had to connect my all the way straight down to the ends of my pattern paper. So that is where my zipper is going to be fixed at the end of the day. So that is basically it for the back. Like, that is all. I'll just go ahead now to cut out the sides of this my pattern paper, and also slash the dart for only one part, because at this point, this particular style of blouse, you don't cut out the dart together for the back part. Okay, so when I cut out the sides, I now spread this open, so you can see, to cut out the darts for this side and also slash through this zipper area. So it's not really necessary to cut out the shoulder part. This part now that I'm trying to cut out, it's not necessary to do that, because I still later had to use my sellotape to join them together. Okay, but this other neckline part should be cut out entirely and thrown away. Then I slashed this my zipper, so you can see that at this point I'm joining that shoulder part I cut out, and also the lower part or the back part. So this back part is also going to be 3 pieces when I'm done cutting out as well. So that is just it. That is how simple the drafting of this blouse is, and I hope you actually understand everything that I'm doing right here so far. So basically, when I'm done, I'll just go ahead to label all of this piece. So I'll go ahead now to cut out all of this on my fabric. Remember, I've not replaced my dart, and I've also not added my sewing allowance. So for this other side, for this other smaller side back, it's not going to have any darts. Just for this other side front, that's where I will be replacing that dart of 1 inch and also adding my sewing allowance. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the second part of this tutorial, which is going to be the sewing part. I love you all a whole lot. Please do stay tuned. Trust me, it's going to be as easy as this one right here. Until some other time, see you all on this same channel. Bye.